Florida trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. Alexis, great to see you. Thanks for coming back here on Sidebar. You know, look, body-worn cameras, they have really changed the game when it comes to investigations, when it comes to prosecutions, when it comes to even, by the way, defenses, right? It's this video evidence. What's stronger than this?
Juries love video evidence. I mean, and like you said, it's good for both sides, not just the prosecution. From a defense end, it's very good to have that as well.
So let's go through it. So we go back to May 5th. Miami Beach police officer Anthony Guzman stepped out onto the street to stop a couple that was riding on a motorcycle. And according to a police report, Officer A. Guzman was stopping violators for making a right turn onto 5th Street on a solid red light. Posted sign states no right turn on red. Now, as Officer Guzman motions for the bike to slow down, it does, coming to almost a complete stop. But then the motorcyclist appears to speed back up, knocking Officer Guzman. Alexis, that's a problem, right? That video seems pretty blatant. I think it kind of would be hard to argue that maybe the rider didn't see what was going on, didn't know what happened, something like that. That video seems pretty straightforward, no?
Well, I mean, the video is a little unclear because you're seeing it from the body cam perspective, you know, opposed to if it was coming from a building where we were seeing all angles. He is stating that he did not mean to hit the officer. I could see a situation where he was definitely trying to escape, but he was trying to go around the officer and not hit him. But the bottom line is he did hit the officer with the motorcycle.
So in other words, let's be clear about this. It's going to be hard to say that because he was slowing down, right? It wasn't like he just never stopped and didn't know that he was being summoned to stop. It appears to slow down and then take off. So the very least would be, hey, he knew he was about to get a ticket of some kind, which, by the way, I probably wouldn't have been that big of a violation, right. A traffic violation. Took off, but didn't know that he hit the officer. So that's probably the best defense.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is he was fleeing, and during fleeing, he hit the officer. So I don't know if you could use that as a defense. His attorney has gone into court and said that it was never his intention to hit that officer. But we still have the fact that he fled the scene of the accident. He ended up getting into, a subsequent accident where the motorcycle.
Wow, let's talk about
vehicle.
that. Let's talk about that, because what could have just, been a ticket, right? Ticket. Now it's escalated because the motorcyclist made things apparently a lot worse for everyone. Alexis, now it's not just the body cam. Now you have an eyewitness, which again, critical piece of evidence.
Well, exactly. We now have multiple layers. I mean, I don't think he has a very strong defense. I mean, ultimately, he'll probably plead this out, but I'm sure we're going to get to this. He has bigger fish to fry on it. Another matter. But we now have the video. We have witnesses saying that it appeared to them that he did hit we don't know what his intent was, but it appeared to the witness to intentionally hit the officer.
Okay, so then soon calls came in over the radio that there had been a wreck just a few miles away on the MacArthur Causeway. And a silver Triumph motorcycle had apparently hit multiple vehicles, injuring both the motorcyclist and his passenger. Lexus, back to you. Now we have another identification from the alleged victim themselves on the way to the hospital. This is now just escalated a further step. And that's, by the way, we talk about, unfortunately, on Sidebar so many times where you don't have an identification from the victim because the consequences are dire and they're either in critical condition or they're deceased. But now you have a very seriously injured officer who's able to go to this next stage and make the identification.
Well, I mean, this goes towards the fact that it was the same bike that we see in the video that he stopped, and it wasn't another bike or another individual that was involved in that subsequent accident, which is very important for the prosecution. I mean, this is a strong case with the video. They've made that connection. And like I said before, the fact that he believes, the defendant believes that he wasn't intending to hit him isn't really relevant when you put it together with all the other factors that are here, the fleeing, the reckless driving, the subsequent accident, all the eyewitness testimony, the charge of acting recklessly, driving recklessly, coupled all that together, it doesn't, his attorney saying that probably isn't, if this goes before a jury, which I don't necessarily think it will, I think it'll be pled out before that he, that they're going to necessarily believe that because of all of his other actions. Like you said before, Jesse, if he would have hit him and then stopped and been like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do that, that would be a completely different scenario.
By the way, Alexis, how reliable is eyewitness testimony when there is a very chaotic scene like this happening in real time, quite quick? I mean, I wonder how human memory works. Is it one of these events where, because it's so traumatic, you might remember all the details, especially quickly in time? It's not like she's being interviewed a week later. Or in your experience, is that something that defense attorneys can challenge a little bit, given the hectic nature of what happened?
So juries love eyewitness testimony, but there's been studies done on eyewitness testimony in chaotic and in non-chaotic situations, and it is not reliable. It just isn't. But, they've done study after study. And even there, she was saying she, wasn't sure where he was hit, was his legs ran over. I mean, where was she? Also, even what goes towards that reliability is, where was she visually? Like, what was in it? But as she was saying this, if I was a defense attorney, I would argue that the police officer jumped in front of the motorcycle and that he was trying to avoid him. I mean, there's different defenses. Now, whether a jury is going to buy that, I don't know.
Well, I want to talk about, and this is something we mentioned before, about why Fagasa may have fled what could have been a very minor traffic stop. So apparently he doesn't have a driver's license. His wife apparently told police that he only has a Brazilian passport. There's no valid driver's license and no motorcycle endorsement. So Fagasa reportedly told police that he didn't intend to hit the officer, but the body camera video may seem to dispute that. Now, he's facing 4 serious charges: hit and run with serious bodily injuries, reckless driving causing serious bodily injury, fleeing or eluding a police officer, and causing a collision with serious injuries while driving without a license. Alexis, what kind of consequences could he be looking at here?
Well, he could be looking at a lot of time in jail, but I think the bigger issue and a lot of the more questions that I have are about what you brought up about the passport. Okay, so if you come here and you're a visitor, you can rent a car for a certain amount of time, for instance, and be able to drive in the United States on more or less your passport. But it gets into how long was he in this country? Was he on a visitor's visa, or was he here and this is under investigation right now, had he overextended his stay? So it's my understanding that he had that Brazilian passport. I'm not sure his status. And whether he was allowed to drive here. But you also, on top of having your passport, if you're a tourist, for instance, you have to have a valid license in the country that you are in to be able to drive here as well. So we're not even sure if he had, let's say, the equivalent of a Brazilian driver's license along with that passport. And this may be that he didn't have any of that. It may be that he's overstayed any visa, that he's not supposed to technically be in the country. And that is why the motorcycle was in the wife's name, for instance, and he was probably not listed as an operator on that because, like you said, it sounds like he didn't have that motorcycle endorsement either. We don't know for sure those things, but the way it's laying out and the fact that he is on an immigration hold currently as well, that it sounds like there are some issues having to do with him being in this country at the time of that accident.
Yeah, it's true. Fox 35 Orlando has reported that he is facing an immigration hold. He remains behind bars. His next court date is scheduled for August 7th. It does make me wonder, though, is this a case, given the evidence that we've seen so far, where you try to cop a plea, and what would that look like? Is that even on the table? Because I'm struggling to find what could be a possible defense. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but it seems to me, would a plea even be on the table? Is that something that could be negotiated? Or if you're dealing with the case of a hit and run of an officer, that might not be on the table.
Miami-Dade likes to plea. So there's going to be a plea that's offered on the table. He's still got a lot of different, even if you have the defense attorney go in and fight on that, which is the higher charge, that assault on law enforcement officer, you still have the fleeing, you still have the reckless driving. The driving without the license isn't such a big deal, other than the fact it was seriously bodily harm to somebody. So, I mean, they still have a lot that they could put their teeth in. But with this immigration, the plea is going to be very touchy with what he's able to take. Because if he pleads to a felony, then even if you didn't have necessarily, you weren't here illegally, but you were here, let's say, on a different status, you could potentially be deported for that. So immigrants have to be very careful to what they plead to. So that's going to take have to be taken into consideration. But if he is just blatantly not here on any status, that he is here illegally, then at that point it really isn't going to much matter to him, because the bigger issue is he's going to be kicked out of the country anyways at the end of, if he ends up serving time. So probably procedurally the way it's going to go is he'll plead to something, maybe not with any jail time, and then he'll be deported. That's the way it looks like it's going to unfold at this point on the limited information we have.
Alexis Rosenberg, thanks for coming on and breaking down this body cam footage in this case with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, as always.